Call the roll, please.
Alt.
Here.
Bills.
Present.
Signa.
Here.
Sure.
Yep. Everybody has a copy of the agenda in front of them. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Bills, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Sticknall, are there any questions or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Public comments. No public comments. Committee chair reports. Mr. Bills.
Well, the highway department's going to be taking some bids again this month. Replace a piece of equipment that we've getting a little antiquated, and a couple little road jobs. And that's really probably the only highlight of it, other than the monthly claims and stuff.
Mr. Alt, Management Committee.
Yeah, Management Lyle couldn't be here. He asked me to sit in for him. We're going to discuss quite a bit about solar farms, I guess. We have one offer already, and I'm expecting a couple more. Maybe they're already in, I'm not sure. And we're going to discuss the efficient lighting. We have 2 or 3 companies want to work with us on reducing our cost in lighting with a contract, and they would do the work of replacing bulbs and other things to lower our cost in the building. We haven't arrived at a decision on that as yet. And we could probably discuss the county farm. Should be planting corn pretty soon. I don't know what else.
Okay. Mr. Sticknall.
There's not anything unusual on the agenda, just department head reports.
Okay, under chairman comments, I'd like to take the opportunity to talk about Anita Speckman. As everybody knows, tomorrow will be her last day. I don't know that there's enough words to say what she's meant to this county. I think that there's no question over the past 6 years the county's financial position and records and so forth has been vastly improved. And I think she deserves the credit for that. I think she's going to be missed greatly. It's going to be difficult to find someone to take her place, but the county must move forward, and we will. So, I again want to express not only my appreciation, but I think everybody on the board and the citizens of the county for Anita's service. Eric Stacy can't be with us today, so I'll read his report. It says, over the past month, here are the projects EMA has been working on. Overhaul of the hazardous materials response plan, including more types of hazardous materials facilities, railways, and pipelines. Purchasing for the EOC technology grant. After lots of price checking and research, we've started purchasing some of this equipment. As a reminder, this grant is 100% reimbursable. He attended a crisis planning meeting for Crescent City Grade School on April 23rd. Hosted a flood review meeting yesterday evening with the comments at this meeting we will write an after-action report and improvement plan. In the coming month, the EMA is planning on continuing work with the LTRC, local government on flood recovery and mitigation efforts, and writing the after-action report. In addition, EMA is going to continue work on hazardous materials response plan and start meetings for updating the hazard mitigation plan. Concerning the disaster declaration, it is my opinion that the disaster declaration for Iroquois County can be terminated at this time. While there are still flooding issues to be dealt with, I do not foresee any need for emergency action response or purchasing. An update for the flood, Governor Rauner has requested President Trump for individual assistance. There is no timeline on when the federal government will answer the request. That's the essence of his report. Anybody Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, we'll move on to review and approve the job description for the 911 director. You have a copy in front of you of what Eric Raymond and Anita Speckman did in reviewing things and putting something together. I've gone through that and made a couple of comments and suggestions myself that I wanted to bring before the committee. One of which is, and this may be a relatively minor point, but in the interest of accuracy and if it's worth doing right. When we say ETSB director, ETSB stands for Emergency Telephone System Board. And technically, Eric is the Emergency Telephone System Director. The B should be dropped from any references there, and it would go on through this description in other places where it's mentioned in that context. There also, if you notice, are a couple of spelling errors, which is easily corrected. I don't think that's a major issue. But the other thing that I feel like needs to be addressed is the fact of having this job description and the ATS director be qualified to work on the radio. This is something that we fought for in the telecommunicator contract, along with management rights, and I think it's something that, from that standpoint alone, we need to do. And I think it's also something that further qualifies the director to understand and be familiar with the duties of telecommunicators in his supervision of them. So my recommendation would be that be added to this, along with the other things that I mentioned.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
a point of order, does the ETSB board have to sign off on this?
This is
Since
what we're
that's an
doing is
employee of the
yeah.
ETSB board?
we're reviewing what the ETS board sent to us and asked for our comments.
Okay.
And so this will be, our comments or recommendations will be sent back to them, and they will be the ones that
Okay.
get the final approval, yes.
Okay.
You have any thoughts, Russell?
Well, I think the few that you pointed out might be a great idea, so I think that's the way we ought to send it back to them with a little bit of a drop in the B. Yeah, I think that'd be a very important thing. And
I think over the years, we said ETSB director, whatever, but really when you stop and think about it, that's not really correct. And if we want it to be correct. But the other thing about working on the radio, and I discussed that with Eric, and I think he understands and is in agreement that that would be the right way to do things, as far as him getting the training and so forth to work on the radio.
Eric's already, logged, I believe it was 8 hours in the last report of the ESP board for his eligibility to be on the line.
Okay, well, that's good. I think.
That's right.
do we need a motion on this, then, you, or?
I guess it would be a good idea to do that, the motion, regarding our recommendations to the ETSB.
I so moved.
Second?
Second.
With the corrections they made, and the fact that he added that he'd be eligible to be on the board himself.
We'll get that put together, and then when we go before the full board, we'll have the corrected description there, and so forth. Well, all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Next item is the setting of the salaries for the sheriff and county clerk, treasurer, and circuit clerk. We discussed this last month. We set a number just to get the ball rolling more or less. There's been considerable discussion since that time. A lot of different ideas have been brought forward. Does the committee have any suggestions or ideas or thoughts?
Trying to remember, did finance bounce on this too? Or just the PP last one?
I can tell you this, that two county board members went around and just had some discussions with these officials and got some information on what their thoughts were and so forth. So we can look at that if you like. Obviously, in most cases of this type, what they would like to do might be more than what the board wants to do or can do, but I think it's probably beneficial for us to understand what some of the thinking is. And I think in all honesty, there's a lot of merit in what they're saying, because I think over the past, 10 years or so, there's been several times when finances didn't allow for raises to be made and that sort of thing that otherwise may have been deserved. I think that there's recognition to be given for that. I think that some of the county officials have been very cooperative with the board, and so far as a number of areas. So I think those are things that we ought to be taking into account also. But, let me see if I can find what I got here. Those are some sheets that Anita had prepared regarding a salary survey. And you can see in the bottom it talks about averages of the 5 below and the 5 above Iroquois County.
That policy procedure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's one thing that we can look at. I was hoping that either Kyle or Mike would have been here today, because I think from the financial standpoint they have a better feel for some of this.
Yeah, I think our financial spot is something we really have to look at. Having a big payment use that are surprises to us in several other areas.
Right. That's correct.
And increases too.
Yeah.
We have to find ways to pay all those.
I'm looking for a piece of paper here that for some reason I can't put my hands on it.
Not that information, no.
What's that?
Last month's PP.
Okay. I know what we did last month. I'm looking for another piece of paper that I don't know what I did with it. paper right here is something that I worked on last night. I took the pages that Mike and Kyle had put together and reworked it a little bit. One of the thoughts involved with it was we're going to have a new treasurer, and should that position, how should that position be compensated? Some people thought maybe it should be left the way it is. Some people thought it should get the same. What I put together there is maybe sort of in the middle.
We won't know until we have a read of how many people are really interested in jobs and what ranges of salary needs to be paid to fill the job.
For the treasurer,
Yeah.
we have two candidates running for treasurer.
I meant, not treasurer, I meant,
Finance director?
yeah,
Yeah.
we have no idea at this point.
I know, but we're required by law to set the salaries now.
Yeah.
We don't have
For
any.
salary too, I didn't realize it for salary, as you said.
They have to do it 6 months before the election.
She is not elected, is she? No.
No. We're not setting the salary for the finance director.
That's what I was talking about.
Correct. We're not, this is,
Yeah, that, I understand that.
that's what we're talking about right now is something we have to do.
That's true, we won't have to do the treasures until we know what we have to do, or need to do, want to do.
Maybe a very good idea. Oh, yeah. You know, it's a stronger number than what come out of the committee last month,
Yes.
but it does show good merit too.
Yep. It's not exactly, as I said, what came from the work that Mike and Kyle did, but it's very close.
Right.
And I think it gives, as I said, I think it gives recognition to what their requests are, plus, you know, the whole overall situation. There's something to be said for going all the way back, I don't know how many years ago it was, 10 years or whenever the salaries were frozen for 4 years. That created a lot of inequity and a lot of concern, or whatever is the right word for it, on the part of a lot of individuals. By the same token, you can see from the surveys that Anita put together from UCCI that our salary structures have, while been maybe slightly below average, they're not really out of line that much. This would put us above that average a little bit. And of course, we don't know these other counties, this is, you know, these surveys, and we don't know what they're going to do going forward.
On half another person.
Mhm.
Well, we got now.
By, yeah, by this.
Yeah, by that time.
Yeah,
they'll-
so,
We
yeah.
have paid out on half another.
Let Marvin take a look at that.
Yeah, let's do that. Bill, was there a percentage really tied in there?
Not exactly,
Yeah, it looked like it kind of moved around. a little
right,
bit,
it's
but
not
when we started
exactly.
talking a 1/10%, I can't figure if I had that close when we started.
What's wrong with it?
I don't know, I thought in your line of business you were a financial whiz.
You're right. Get my shoebox out.
These increases, what percent is that per year?
It's
Roughly
not-
2.5,
It's not figured on the basis of
Okay.
Yeah,
percent.
it moves around when you look at different areas. So-called demand. And there's arguments every way possible. We've heard them from. I don't think anybody's gonna sit here and say that they make too much money either.
As I said, it was based upon the work that Mike and Kyle did, and that was not done on a percentage basis. You can figure percentages out of this if you want, but it's not there, so. What we did last month was primarily to get something going,
Right.
and I think we've accomplished that. You know, people have more of an opportunity to speak forth and so forth, so. My thought would be, and it's up to you gentlemen, of course, but my thought would be that if we approve this today and send it to the board, it would give opportunity for further discussion, further thought. It can be changed or whatever when we get to the board, but at least we have something to work with.
Does that look acceptable to you, Marvin?
Pardon?
Does that look like it's a little stronger than what you was originally thinking, based off our discussion last month, but
Yeah, it seems fair to me.
I'll move that we accept this and send this to the full board then.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be some other ideas coming down the road.
Well, I just wondered for the record if we should read out what this is.
Yeah, and actually, I suppose maybe we should go make copies.
Just before we vote on the motion, I don't know if we should read out loud what these numbers are or not. Do you have any?
Yeah, we could break it all down, read it out loud. Right, and this is not working on percentages, it looks like here, this is 2.4 in some places, 2.9 in others.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah.
this is not percent, so.
Well, at this point, we could actually just use the Exhibit A and
Okay.
actually,
I know the officials are here, I'm sure they're interested in
Yeah,
knowing what we're talking about.
we can share it with them. That's why I say I probably should make copies and so they can all set.
Well,
Start.
I'll read it out loud for the purpose of the motion, we can make copies afterwards.
Sure.
For fiscal year 2019, the treasurer's salary would be $58,000, county clerk $58,750, circuit clerk $58,750, sheriff $73,000. For fiscal year 20, the treasurer would be $59,250, county clerk $60,500, circuit clerk 60,500, sheriff 74,460. For fiscal year 21, the treasurer would be 60,750. County clerk 62,250. Circuit clerk the same, 62,250. Sheriff would be 75,949. For fiscal year 2022, the treasurer would be 62,500. County clerk 64,000, circuit clerk 64,000, and the sheriff 77,468. Those are the numbers, so we'll make copies after when the meeting's over. So that's the motion. It's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Would you call the roll, Amanda, please?
Alt.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Signat.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion and action regarding terminating the disaster declaration.
So moved to terminate. I don't see anything in Eric, based off of his report, he told us.
I had talked with Eric about this at length, and I think we agreed. So is there a second to do that?
I'll second, but I still like a little discussion. What does that really mean? Mean that
Well,
we
the
cannot
disaster
have-
declaration is something that was enacted so that it gave the county board chairman emergency powers to
Right, check.
purchase items needed in the flood and other actions of a similar nature. Okay,
It's basically saying that if anything comes up after this, we're out of it, we don't have anything.
so
We're back to the budget.
we're at the point now where we no longer need any of that, so there's a question came up about whether the full board needs to declare the disaster terminated or not.
Basically over.
We have in the past done it that way, and I thought that would be the best way to do it again. So that's why it's on the agenda, and that's why I'm going to do it this way.
The biggest people affected by it would be like Derek or Joel. Do you see a reason to keep it open?
No, and it,
Other for Eric, actually.
and the other primary reason for it is in order to get state assets rolling, you have to, the locals have to declare it a disaster in order to get state assets coming to Iroquois County. So I don't think we have any need for any more state assets at this time for the flood because it's proceeded, so.
Try it out.
There are some state assets that the city is applying for through the DNR, but those are being handled separately anyway.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Appointments, I'm not aware of any appointments coming forward this month other than what might normally come about. Under correspondence, we got quite a bit of stuff here. So I'll start passing around. This one comes from UCCI, talks about some of the legislation that's before the General Assembly at the moment. Here's one from the State Board of Education. They want us to sponsor some kind of program for meals for the summertime. Hopefully we have the funds to do something like that. This one I think you may have all gotten in the mail anyway, but pass it around. It's a letter here from the Arc of Iroquois County. It has their annual, I believe it's the annual or quarterly report is included in that. And we got one here from the Illinois Department of Agriculture. again telling us about noxious weeds. That we need to have a superintendent and all this kind of business.
Thistle commissioner.
Used to have them.
Something that we have no,
You get a letter in the
No
mail,
funds
if you
to
have
do.
a thistle, you better cut it that
Yeah.
certain date or they'd be out in charge.
so pass that around.
Well, that SCE work.
You had no way to kill thistles, so you got to litter every year, so you go out and chop them down.
Seems, seems a little outdated to me to have something like this.
Well, in maybe areas of metro areas, they might have to have it.
Downtown Chicago.
I don't know if any of you got this card either, but this is from an organization, women saying that they're praying for us. That's some value.
A weed is a misplaced plant.
Unwanted plant.
Illinois Extension is giving us their 2017 impact report. City of Watsika has submitted a notice of the Joint Review Board for their TIF districts. Would you like to go to that, Russell? Take a look at this stuff and see what it is. I don't think anybody has gone there before, but I think we're entitled to have representation there or
Yeah, it's,
whatever.
the biggest losers on this, actually education, school districts.
Yeah.
They seem never to be too excited, so.
Sometimes some of those things, even though we may not have any real vested interest in it, by participating, it does enhance relations, I guess, nothing else.
Yeah, I went to one 10 years ago, and I realized it was kind of preset brief and took sections it was done. It's next Tuesday, huh?
Okay. Next are the claims. Y'all have a copy of the claim sheet in front of you? It's my understanding that the claims on the back of this page, that totals $10,773.51 are expenses that are reimbursable through a grant that Eric has.
That's 100% reimbursement.
I believe that's what he was referring to in his report, yeah. Other than that, I guess everything on here looks pretty normal. Anybody have any questions on the claims?
What is the projection scheme, is this here?
No, that's over in the EOC Center in the courthouse.
Oh,
He's got
all right.
all that equipment for use over there. He's got a grant for it.
Oh, we have grant for it?
The courtroom, or it says the grant, all of that equipment is 100% reimbursable, so.
It's in the courtroom, or?
No, it's in the EOC Center down the basement. I don't know what else to call it.
Who uses it?
Yes. Somebody else borrow it too, I think he'll. That's, I imagine Derek needs it, he can use it.
I think the primary intent of the use of it is, when we are involved in any kind of emergency situation.
Nothing stands out.
I think that it's probably something that can be utilized during their regular meetings that they have with the LAPC.
I don't even want to pay it twice. I hear you.
So, did you motion it?
No,
Oh,
I haven't. Nobody's motion is answered. Somebody motion it?
No, I'm waiting for a motion to approve the claims.
I'm sitting, I think, a regular on the motion.
I move that we approve the claims.
Is there a second?
second.
Are there any questions about the claims further?
I already asked mine.
Seeing none, do you call the roll, please, Amanda?
Paul, Bills,
Yes.
Stignot,
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Is there any old business this morning? Under new business, I want to call your attention to an email that Amanda sent out yesterday regarding House Bill 4581. It was sent to everybody, all the board members. Basically, that bill changes the age of a minor from 18 to 21. And CCI is opposed to that very much. They're asking us to adopt a resolution to that effect. Didn't come in time to get it on the agenda for this meeting, so I'm going to have it probably go to finance and be considered there. Or no, excuse me, judicial I think would be a better place. But in any case, we'll have it through committee and then come before the next board meeting. So,
A minor in what regard? Everything in the state, or what?
it has to do with criminal activities. Are you familiar with that, Eric?
Yes.
Derek?
Yeah, it's being opposed by, I think, about everybody who deals in the judicial system with this. But, yeah, it would, right now, anybody age 17 or younger that commits a crime or some type of infraction that gets the courts involved, doesn't necessarily mean an arrest. They're considered a juvenile and their proceedings are private, records are sealed. So this would include 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, which there's a whole basket full of issues on housing, if this goes through on housing, because we have some juvenile detention centers in the state that are already at capacity, so are you going to add more housing? And we have some juvenile detention centers that have 10-year-olds that are being detained, so are you going to have a 10-year-old in the same area as a 20-year-old? So there's a lot of issues, not to mention the demand on the court services and what all entails dealing with juveniles and their proceedings. So it's a big issue, and it came up last year, but I don't think it ever came out of committee. Another one too, I don't know if you got the email on, is, and I don't know what the status of it is right now, but it was that county jails had to provide a place for those inmates who are incarcerated on primary election day and general election day to vote. And then when they get discharged from jail, if they're not registered to vote, we're supposed to give them a packet that informs them how to register to vote, which is all well and good. There's already something set up in place for that. If they're eligible to vote and they're incarcerated, if they want to go through the absentee ballot request, they could. If they want to register to vote, we already have an office in county government that you can go to register to vote, but it's something that they're trying to put on the plate of the sheriffs to handle in their jail and when they release these individuals. So there's a couple things out there that, if they pass, could impact services.
Derek, is there any other state that sets the age for a minor at 21?
No, I believe, and off the top of my head, Illinois for a long time was, if you were 17 and committed a crime, you were tried as an adult. Under the civil side, you were still under mom and dad's control or guardian's control until you reached 18. But on a criminal side, if you were 17 and committed a crime, you were treated as an adult, arrested, incarcerated at local jails and all of that. Well, that changed to 18 because most states were at 18. And I don't know of any that have juveniles all the way up to age 21. There may be some, but I don't know of any just because of the chaos that it creates in the judicial system. And, you know, the aspect of if you're 18 and can enlist in the armed services and serve your country, you know, does that then become an issue? Because, you know, in Illinois, in order to enlist, you know, if you don't have parents' signatures, you got to be 18 or older. So now is it going to be, you know, a 20-year-old that wants to go join the Army, and they say, well, you got to get mom and dad's approval to do it. You know, I don't know. So it's a mess, and the Sheriff's Association, I think the Chiefs of Police, I believe the State's Attorneys Association is in on it, but I'm not for sure. I know from a law enforcement standpoint, all of the associations that deal with law enforcement administrators are not in favor of this.
This information that UCCI sent us includes a sample of the resolution that they would like us to send, so we'll bring that up at judicial. That second bill that you talked about, I'm not aware of, but if that's something you think we should consider a resolution on that also, maybe you want to get together with me and we can...
Yeah, I'll double check. I've been getting updated emails through the Illinois Sheriff's Association because I'm on the legislative committee, and so those were the two big ones that the Sheriff's Association were watching what was going to happen with them. So I'll let you know on the other.
Is there any other new business today? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.